Welcome back to your Pediatric Dentist channel Tiny Teeth Talks. If you are new to this channel, subscribe the channel, and for details of this channel, visit the bio section, or you can also check out my first video. As you know, I already started to upload individual theory explanation videos and already uploaded a 2 complete video of psychosexual theory and psychosocial theory with all pediatric dental examples. Third theory is theory of cognitive development by Jean Piaget. So stay tuned for all theories of child psychology. The word cognitive comes from the Latin word cognoscere, which means to know or to understand. So, cognitive is related to mind's ability to think, learn, understand, and remember. Cognitive development refers to the growth and change in person's ability to think, reason, understand, learn, and remember over time. Basically, it's how a child's brain develops to process information, solve problems, understand language, and make decisions. Jean Piaget, world's leading theorist in the field of cognitive development, proposed this theory in 1952. He developed his theory by observing how children think, focusing not on the correctness of their answers but their reasoning process. So, Jean Piaget extensively studies children's cognitive development, published over 25 books, 160 articles, explores how abstract ideas are acquired, modified, and developed based on inherited intelligence and experience. He argued that children learn about the stable world around them through logic and mathematics and must adapt to their social environment as they grow. Piaget believed that children development follows the predictable stages, starting from reflexes in the infancy to complex thinking in adolescence and adulthood. These all stages can be grouped as follow. Different stages included in these different groups. So first is operation. Operation is basically an action which the child performs mentally and which has the added property of being reversible. So if it has the property of being reversible, so it will develop the logical reasoning. For example, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So in future, it will develop 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. Example of operation is the child understand that mixing two different amount of toothpaste with water yield the same total volume no matter the order. So in future, it will mentally reversing that the two different amount of toothpaste with water is not yield the same total volume. Coming to the schema. So schema represent a dynamic process of differentiation and recognition of knowledge with the resultant evolution of behavior and cognitive functioning apparatus for the age of the child. So schemas are the category of knowledge that help us to interpret and understand the world. According to Piaget, schema include both a category of knowledge and the process of obtaining that knowledge. With the experience, the new information is used to modify and add to or change previously existing schema. For example, a child has a schema for toothbrushing that they recognize the toothbrush, the act of brushing, and rinsing. Over time, this schema differentiated between brushing with the toothpaste in the morning versus fluoride rinse at the night. Child understood that brushing and rinsing is same, but over the time they develop the schema and they will understand that both things are different. Coming to the assimilation, so new object or idea interpreted it in the terms of idea or action the child has already acquired within his age specific skill. The process of taking in new information into previously existing schema is known as the assimilation. So in assimilation, children fit new experiences into what they already know. For example, a child who learned that dental floss cleans between teeth might think that any string-like material serves the same function. They have one schema. Now they added some new information into that schema according to that previous information. Coming to the accommodation. So accommodation involves the altering existing schemas. So first there is the schemas. Now new information coming. So it will add into the schema and called assimilation. Now this new information which added to assimilation with experience, it will alter the existing schema. So it is called the accommodation. So accommodation involving altered existing schemas or ideas as a result of new information or new experiences. New schemas may also be developed during this process. Accommodation occurs when the child changes his or her cognitive structure or mental category to better represent the environment. Here, the child updates or alters schemas in response to new experience that don't fit existing framework. For example, the child learns that sugar-free gum isn't harmful to teeth because it supports saliva production. They adjust their schema of sweet equal bad, accommodating a new understanding about non-carcinogenic foods. Equilibrium. It is a state established as a result of new knowledge to the child. So the Piaget believed that children try to balance between the assimilation and accommodation, which is achieved through a mechanism called equilibrium. As child progress to the stage of cognitive development, it is important to maintain a balance between applying previous knowledge and changing behavior to account for a new knowledge. Equilibrium helps explain how children are able to move from one stage of thought into the next. So this is the balance between assimilation and accommodation. Children strive to maintain cognitive stability by integrating new experiences through the assimilation when possible and accommodation when necessary. For example, when a child sees both sugary snacks and tooth-friendly snacks being offered, they balance the schemas that sweet is equal to bad for teeth and the new schemas. Some traits like sugar-free gum can be good, achieving a more accurate understanding of oral health. Now, Piaget marked four stages of cognitive growth, each characterized by a different type of thinking, and each child relies more upon internal stimuli. So, these four stages are the sensory motor period, pre-operational period, which is again divided into the preconceptual period and intuitive stage, concrete operational period, and formal operational period. Starting with the sensory motor period, which is start from birth to 2 years. So what happens during this stage? So this stage marks the beginning of cognitive development. Infants begin with basic reflexes, innate reflexes like shucking, grasping, and gradually develop intentional actions and mental representation. Over time, the children transition from reactive behavior, which is based on reflexes, to intentional interactions with the environment. So there are three key cognitive developments which is occur during this stage. So first is object permanence. The child learns that object exist even when out of sight. So before 8 months, child thinks that an object no longer exists once it's hidden. After 8 months to this period, they know that object exists even when out of sight. Dental relevance here is it helps explain why infants may cry when parents leaves the room during a dental checkup. They believe that parents is gone rather than just not seen. Then the beginning of thought and language. That the child start to use symbols, gesture and sounds like bubbling, pointing, and the language is still very limited at this stage. The third is animism. So children attribute life like qualities to inanimate objects. For example, if they bump into the dental chair and get hurt, they might believe that the chair is bad or mean. If the parent or dentist hits the dental chair in front of child, the child feels better. This reflects early emotional reasoning, not logic. Application in pediatric dentistry. So interactions with the environment. Children at this age respond best to sensory experience like touch, sight and sound. Giving the child a toy to hold like soft plush, tether, mirror distract them and reduce fear during treatment. Toys also provide a sense of control in a new environment. Managing separation anxiety. If the parents steps out of the room, the infant may panic. It's important to keep visual contact with the parents when possible. Offer familiar comfort items like blanket, toy to ease the stress. And non-verbal communication. Use smile, gentle touch, soothing voice and eye contact to build the trust. And verbal instructions have a little meaning, so tone and body language are key. Short appointments. Due to limited attention span and high sensitivity to discomfort or change, dental appointments should be short, simple and comforting. Now it has six sub stages. First sub stage is the at the age of birth to 2 months, and the schemata is basically a mental structure or framework that help individual organize and interpret information. So the schemata here is the automatic inborn reflexes of infants, and coordinated reflexes reflexes. So they uses inborn motor and sensory reflexes to interact and accommodate to the external world. So what happen? Infant uses innate reflex like shucking, grasping, and rooting. So when they come to you, a newborn reflexively sucks on a pacifier the dentist offers during an oral checkup. Now, the second substage is at the age of 2 to 5 months, which schematized coordination of reflexes improves. It is called as a primary circular reaction. So, they coordinates activity of own body and five senses. So, they start with the sucking, grasping, looking, but now they suck also, but they do this activity with their own body. So, sucking thumb. Reality remains subjective, does not seek stimuli outside of its visual field and display curiosity. So, what happens? Repetition of actions involving the infant's own body. Thumb sucking. So, a baby repeatedly sucks their thumb for comfort during cleaning. So, you should leading caregiver to introduce safe teething rings rather than sucking their thumbs. Third substage is at the age of 5 to 9 months, and infants try to perceive and maintain interesting experience, which is known as secondary circular reaction. So they seek out new stimuli in the environment, start both to anticipate consequences of own behavior and to act purposefully to change the environment. And beginning of intentional behavior starts. The child shakes a toothbrush to hear the bristles squeak, enjoying the sensation and learning to hold it. So they add this new thing into their mind. Fourth stage is at the age of 9 months to 1 year and coordinate sensory motor scheme. It shows the preliminary signs of object permanence and has a vague concept that object exist apart from itself, play peekaboo and imitate novel behavior. So what happened? Intentional goal directed behavior you can see in them. For example, moving obstacles to reach a toy, object permanence emerges. The child reaches to open a drawer to get the toothbrush, showing purposeful action and understanding of tool access. In fifth stage is at the 1 year to 18 months and new sensory motor schemes are invented in this stage, which is a tertiary circular action. They seeks out new experiences, produce novel behavior. And infant experiment with different brushing angles, exploring which motion makes the toothpaste form more effectively. The sixth stage is at the age of 18 months to 2 years. They invent new schemas through mental exploration in which they imagine certain events and outcomes. Use symbolic representation of events and objects, shows signs of reasoning. Example, uses one toy to reach for and get another. So the toddler mentally recalls the dentist brushing routine and they recall it, they use it, they apply it in their life. So in pediatric dentistry, using reflexes pacifier or teething ring during early exam harnesses natural reflexes for comfort. Repetitive bristle playing supports the motor control and engagement in oral hygiene. Encouraging children to fetch their own brushes builds the autonomy and object permanence. Allowing toddler to experiment safely with the brushing technique fosters interest, reduce resistance, and enhance skill development. And reinforcing routine like brush after snacks aid toddlers in using memory based cues and increase cooperation in the 18 to 24 month period. Now coming to the pre-operational period, which is at the age of 2 to 7 years. So this is from 2 to 7 years of age and is called a transition period. This stage follows the sensory motor and marks a transition from action based thinking to symbolic thought. However, logical reasoning is still limited and children's understanding is largely influenced by appearance, immediate perceptions and imagination. So it has two substage. First is preconceptual stage and the second is intuitive stage. So first preconceptual stage is at the age of 2 to 4 years. The key traits of this stage are begins symbolic thinking. They using a toy as a pretend toothbrush. Thoughts are egocentric. Child sees the world only from their perspective. perspective. Object takes on meaning beyond the physical properties. Pediatric dentistry examples are a child might use a dental mirror as a pretend pirate scope showing symbolic play. If the dental assistant wear colorful scrubs with the animal, the child may respond more positively, assigning familiar meaning to the unfamiliar dental setting. The second is intuitive stage, which is at the age of 4 to 7 years, and the key traits are pre-logical reasoning dominates. The children draw conclusions based on what they see, not actual logic. They cannot mentally reverse the action, and centration, they focus on one aspects of a situation, ignoring other. There is a famous experiment which is the conservation task. A child sees two glass with the same amount of water. One is poured into a tall thin glass, and the child now believes that the taller glass has more water. This shows focus on height, not volume, an example of the centration. A child may say a larger toothbrush is better just because it's bigger, not understanding its function. Now, the core feature of pre-operational period are main two. First is limited logical reasoning, unable to connect steps in reasoning like first brushing, which can remove the plaque, which prevents acid and stop tooth decay. This is the actual facts, but they will understand that brushing makes your teeth white and clean. Dominance of sensory impression. Decision and responses are driven by what looks or feels obvious, not underlying causes. Dental applications in practice. So first is constructivism. So children learns best through exploration and interactions. For example, letting the child press the button on the dental chair or spray air or water syringe makes them feel involved and less stressful. Cognitive equilibrium achieved when the child's expectation match the experiences. Equilibrium, balance between two things. Showing and explaining instruments before use. For example, letting them touch the mirror or scaler helps reduce fear and promotes mental adaptation to the dental environment. And animism. Children attribute life and feeling to objects. For example, referring the handpiece as whistling Willie who cleans teeth happily helps the child emotionally engage with the tool and reduce anxiety. The third stage is the concrete operational period, which is 7 to 11 years. So the concrete operational stage marks a significant shift in the cognitive abilities. Children at this stage begin to think logically and systematically, but only about concrete tangible objects. Tangible means only that capable of being touched or felt, not abstract concepts. So key cognitive ability in this stage is the conservation, understanding that quantity remains the same despite changes in the shape or arrangement. So child knows that toothpaste squeezed into thin line or a blob is still the same amount. Reversibility, ability to mentally reverse an action, understanding that rinsing removes the toothpaste and reapplying it restores the brushing process. Decentering can focus on multiple aspects of situation, for example size and color, so they can understand both the function of the dental tool and its shape or size. Classification can group objects by common features and understand that a subcategory belongs to a larger group. For example, groups dental instrument into the cleaning tool versus fixing tools. Seriation can arrange items in order based on a property like size or color. So they arrange dental hygiene aids like toothbrush, floss, interdental brush from softest to firmest. Transitivity, they understand the logical relationship. They know that if A is greater than B, B is greater than C, then A is also greater than C. Dental example is if fluoride strengthens enamel, strong enamel prevent decays. So basically fluoride prevents decay. Elimination of egocentrism. So can take another person's perspective. So understand the dentist actions are to help, not to hurt. May comfort a younger siblings during their dental visits. So dental application at this stage, children can follow multi-step instruction, appreciate clear logical explanation, prefer hands-on involvement. And the last stage is formal operational period, which is at the age of 11 plus years. The formal operational stage, typically beginning around 11 to 12 years of the age, marks the final stage of Piaget theory. Here, children develops the ability to think logically about abstract and hypothetical concepts. Cognitive abilities begin to mirror adult-like reasoning. Key feature is abstract reasoning. The child can understand theoretical concepts such as a health, disease prevention, cause-effect relationship that aren't physically observable. For example, understanding that poor diet and oral hygiene can cause tooth decay even if it isn't immediately visible. So they know the abstract reasoning. Hypothetical deductive reasoning. So the child can form hypotheses, predict outcomes, and test solutions systematically. So they're thinking through how using different type of toothbrush might affect the plaque levels. Metacognition, thinking about thinking. So the adolescents become aware of their own thought process and those of others. So example, realizing that feeling nervous at dentist is normal and shared by others. New egocentrism, teenagers may still experience egocentric thinking but now believe that others are as focused on their thoughts and appearance as they are. So they are egocentric but they may realize some things other than egocentric. Idealism and future orientation. Adolescents begin to think about ideals, future goals, and long term consequences. For example, a teen may express concern about how crooked teeth will affect the future smiles or confidence. Application in pediatric dentistry. So, at this stage, children are capable of understanding the reasons behind dental care, evaluating options, and even thinking decisions about their own treatment plans. So, a 14-year-old patient is concerned about gaps between their teeth. The dentist explain orthodontic treatment options, the long-term benefits of alignment, and the importance of hygiene during braces. The teen asks about the impact on appearance and future photos. These shows abstract hypothetical thinking, metacognition, and planning, hallmark of the formal operational stages. Limitations and drawback of Piaget's cognitive theory. So the first is underestimation of abilities. Children may perform better with the familiar task, but the modern studies have shown that even 4 to 5-year-old can understand conversation if language used is clear and familiar. They can show that the children can demonstrate abilities like object permanence and conversation earlier than Piaget proposed, especially if the tasks are simplified or made more engaging. Rigid stages, so their development may be more continuous and individualized. So Piaget's theory is stage based. In reality, development is often more continuous and variable between individual cultures. Cultural bias theory was based on Western middle class children. So children raised in different cultures may develop different cognitive strategies and are timeless than those Piaget studies. Neglect of social or education input underplays influence of instruction, peers, and language. Piaget gave less importance to the language and formal instruction in learning. In contrast, current research shows that guided learning, language, and teacher or peers interactions play a significant role in cognitive development. Methodological flaws. Small sample size observational method. So much of Piaget's research was based on small, non diverse sample, including his own children, and qualitative observation rather than controlled experiments. So, this limits the generalizability and scientific rigor of his finding. Ignores affective factors, doesn't account for emotions or motivation in learning. So, Piaget focused mainly on logical and cognitive development, overlooking the roles of emotion, motivation, and personality in learning and behavior. These are the references. If you want this PDF or any other PDF, just like, subscribe, and comment your mail ID with the topic, and I'll share you the PDF. New videos on Sunday. We also put image based MCQs in pediatric dentistry in our shorts, and we'll put lots of other type of MCQs related to pediatric dentistry. So press the bell icon for every update. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.